What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Hangout Spot where you already know it's real talk, boxing talk, live from my man cave. It's your boy Johnny, and let's talk boxing because today I have a very, very special guest, somebody that I am extremely, extremely proud of. A few months ago, he just turned professional, and he came in with a bang. He is now 2-0 in his first two fights with two knockouts, one in the first round and one in the second round. And coincidentally, he happens to be my little cousin. So I don't know. Maybe it's something in the genes. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyhow, I'm very, very proud of him, and it's an honor to have him here. So with me at the Hangout Spot. So without further ado, I just want to introduce my little cousin and welterweight prospect, Peter Voodoo Latorre. Little cuz, welcome to the Hangout Spot, my man.
What's going on, cuz? I appreciate you having me, man.
No, listen, man, it's an absolute honor to have you here, man. I've done a lot of interviews, but like I told you earlier when we were offline, man, I'm looking forward to this one the most, man. I mean, your family. And like I said in the introduction, man, I am so, so proud of you. But first and foremost, how does it feel to be called a professional fighter?
I get a little bit of imposter syndrome, I played sports growing up all my life. I played football from when I was 5 years old all the way till I was 12, Pop Warner, and then I played, junior high school football, and I thought I was going to be an NFL player, and then, you start to play against higher competition, and you realize like, oh, I'm not meant for this, So when I started boxing, I never really thought that I'd be a professional, and it's like a very small percentage of the world that is able to call themselves a professional, and I mean to be successful as a professional boxer. So it's a little weird. I'm still kind of getting used to it, like, but it's cool though.
Yeah,
I rock
well,
with it.
you're still in the infancy stages, but I got to give you credit because I know about 4 or 5 years ago when you came out of the military, I remember we had a back and forth conversation on text, and you had told me that you love boxing and that you wanted to become a professional fighter. And you know how it is. I mean, it's easier said than done. And I was like, well, listen, man, if that's what you want to do, man, go for it. And you told me that you were going to work hard and you were going to try to make that dream come true. And here we are, man. You
Yeah.
are here. You've made it. And I'm proud of you, man. So I just want
Uh,
to say that from the bottom of my heart. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And I'm proud to be a part of a part of this journey as well. But let's take it back a little bit, man. Let's take it back. Let's take a step back and let's talk a little bit more about where the journey began. So, young kid, right? Little kid, grew up in Elmont, New York,
Hmm.
Long Island, New York. And like you said, I think you had mentioned that your first passion was football, right?
Yeah.
So you're running
Um.
around playing Pop Warner football. But did you like boxing back then when you were younger?
Not really. I never really like grew up watching boxing. I didn't really know anyone that boxed. Um, I used to fight in school because I used to get bullied, and then I started fighting back. So I mean, like, just growing up fighting. Slap boxing was a huge thing. But never really like having an interest in boxing or martial arts or anything like that. So it was really just football always.
And then fast forward, obviously, high school. You decided, after high school that you wanted to go into the military, correct? The Marines.
Yeah, I wanted to follow, the family's footsteps. I had to be different and I had to change it up and go Marines because the whole family was Army. But we come from a highly decorated combat veteran legacy, man. I mean, we have family from Puerto Rico that were drafted in World War II, World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam. As what we're connected to most, being my grandpa, being a Vietnam veteran, Purple Heart recipient, Bronze Star. I mean, he was highly decorated. A lot of people had a respect for him. And it's funny because apparently he used to be big into boxing, and I didn't know that until I started boxing. And we actually had a conversation with my grandma once, and she said there's a photo of him sparring in Vietnam, and I'm like, that's weird. She's like, yeah, I'll find it one day. And then like 3 years later, I see her. She comes to my I forgot where I saw like a family party or something. She gives me an envelope, and I look in the envelope, and it's literally a picture of him sparring. And I'm like,
Wow.
that's crazy. So like, it was in the blood the whole time, but I didn't realize until I really got to this level. You know what I'm saying? So
Wow, that is special, and you're right because I remember as a little kid, my dad and your grandfather and my uncle, they used to all hang out, watch boxing, and drink beer, and I was this little kid, so that's why I fell in love with boxing, since at a young age because I
right,
was basically there while they were hanging out watching boxing, right? It was like a
yeah,
hangout. So it's funny that you say that, and it makes absolute sense. And the crazy part about that, I would love to see that picture one day because I remember my dad took a picture of me when I was a little kid. I was probably like 3 years old with a pair of boxing gloves on.
fire,
And I'm trying to find that picture, man, because it just reminds me of like what you just said right there. It kind of takes me back,
yeah,
to when we were young, because it's almost like our parents, our grandparents, it's wanted us to be,
yep.
athletes or fighters or things of that nature. But so you went. So in the military, when you were in the Marines, how long were you in the Marines for?
So I joined in November of 2015, um, and then I got out October of 2019. I got out a month earlier because I had a certain amount of like days accumulated, where I could have went home for holidays and stuff, but I saved them up so I can get out earlier. Um, but yeah, I did two tours overseas, one in 2017 and then one in 2019. Went to over 10 or 11 different countries, made some great friends, made some of the best friends I'll ever have in my life. Like, it was an amazing experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would never change going into the military, but I wish that I would have kind of chosen a little bit of a different job because I went in as an infantryman, and being infantry, besides the fact that the discipline, the structure, all those kinds of things, it did prepare me for hardship outside of the military. But as far as like things to help me, with jobs or with school or anything like that, it didn't really help me. It didn't transfer over to anything in the civilian world. So, um, but you gotta just roll with the punches. You know what I'm saying? You gotta figure it out.
Absolutely. And that's what life is, right? It's going to throw you a lot of curveballs, and you got to make adjustments, right? Only the strong
Yeah.
survive. Well, I appreciate your service, cuz.
Thank you.
Um, did you box at all in the military?
So it's actually a crazy story. So we would put on gloves, and I remember there's a video of me in infantry school. We call it ITB, Infantry Training Battalion in North Carolina. Before I got sent to my my home battalion, um, we would just put on gloves and we would have downtime, and we'd be like, all right, let's get it cracking. Like everyone, we're gonna get 30 seconds, and you just whoever walked in the middle of the circle and grabbed gloves, you shooting a fair one for 30 seconds, and we used to just do that. So I'd put the gloves on, and like I never really like was at the gym training or anything, but like I just knew how to fight from growing up. So I got a video of me doing the Ali shuffle and hitting the kid with a hook, and then slipping punches and stuff, and like just pure off of instinct, like no training whatsoever. So from there, like I kind of had a feeling of like, yo, like I think I know how to fight. You know what I'm saying? Like I always knew I could hold it down. Not only like with instinct and technique and power, but as far as heart. Because when I got hit with a punch, like I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get my lick back. And that's something that a lot of people need to get tested with. And then I came home. Well, I went on my first deployment, and then same thing. When you're on deployment, we were on a ship. We were on a huge Navy ship. It was a aircraft carrier, 2,000 people on it. And we would go down to the bottom of the ship, the well deck, and same thing. There was a MMA, like a huge MMA mat, and we
Mm-hmm.
get gloves, and we would just either be doing like jujitsu or wrestling, or we'd be throwing hands just because there ain't nothing else better to do. You know what I'm saying? We have all this aggression pent up, and we're just on a floating jail. So we're just like, yeah, let's just go fight. We're just a bunch of guys. Um, and then I got back from my first deployment, and my cousin Anthony Fusco, Natalie Fusco's son, um, hit me up and he was like, "Yo, I'm going to Westbury Boxing Club with Scott Lopek." He calls him Uncle Scott because my cousin Anthony's dad's best friends with Scott Lopek. They grew up together. He said, "Hey, do you want to go spar?" And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. Like, I like to fight. You know what I'm saying?" So I went there. They gave me sparring gear. So my godfather, Peter Fusco, Scott Lopek, which Scott Lopek is a retired professional boxer. He fought in the 80s and 90s.
Mhm.
And my cousin Anthony was there, and we had the whole gym to ourselves, and we sparred 3 rounds. I never legitimately sparred like in a boxing ring before. And my godfather Peter Fusco was recording the video, and I still have the video to this day. And while we're sparring, Scott Lopek says, "Hey, does this kid ever fight before?" And Peter's like, "Nah." And he's like, "Well, when this kid gets out the military, he could have a career. He's pretty good." And like I remember, getting that video, watching the sparring, and then I had 2 more years left, 2 more years left in the Marine Corps. But I would watch that video and I would listen to Scott say like over and over again, "Yo, he could have a career when he gets out." So that's where it really started to stick with me. I'm like, "Yo, this guy's an ex-professional boxer, a successful boxer. He fought Tyrone Frazier. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, yo, this guy has he has like he says I have potential. Like,
For
I
sure.
never really I never really had someone speak of me that way. Like I said, playing football for so long, I never had someone that was like, oh, this kid could be something. So I kind of held that close to heart. And then like now Scott Lopek is one of my coaches here at Westbury Boxing Club. So I ended up full circle going right back there. Um, and then I just started training and training and training while I was in the Marine Corps. I would find gyms outside of my base in Camp Lejeune, and there was a gym, 10 rounds of fitness. The coach was Emmanuel Simmons, I believe his name was. He was a retired master sergeant, and he taught me things here and there, but because of my job being an infantryman, that was the main priority. So I didn't really have time to be a boxer on the side. I had to focus on just training for deployments because that's what my job was. And the
Right.
Marine Corps boxing team wasn't active at that time, so I wanted to be a part of the Marine Corps boxing team, but my job conflicted with it, and then also like the team wasn't really active there. So my last deployment, I went to Japan. I was in Japan from, I think it was February to August, I think it was. And there was a mixed martial arts room with a heavy bag, a speed bag, and a double M bag. And I had my mom send me, I bought a pair of rival boxing gloves. I bought a mouthpiece, a jump rope, and I had my mom send it to me in Japan. And yo, every single day I was in that McMap room hitting that bag every single day. I just would just throw jabs, hooks. I was throwing kicks. I was just doing whatever. I just wanted to fight, and I'm just like, yo, when I get out of the military, I'm going straight to Westbury Boxing Club, and I'm gonna start a career, and that's exactly what happened.
That is amazing. That's an amazing story, man. And I am here with welterweight prospect Peter Voodoo Latorre. Um, and that's where it all began, right? So that's when you
Yeah.
started to fight in the amateur ranks. I know that you
Yep.
did some tournaments and so forth. And there was a couple of tournaments that you did win, right?
Yeah, so the first tournament I competed in was the Ringmasters, which is the New York City Golden Gloves, but they ended up changing the name. I fought at 165 novice. I had 2 fights back to back. I won both of them by TKO, and then the pandemic happened, so then everything got shut down.
I
But
remember.
Yep, but then my gym even got shut down because it's a nonprofit gym. So the gym is funded by, the village of Westbury. So because for insurance reasons and whatnot, I couldn't go to the gym. So I connected with a childhood friend of mine, my boy Andrew Noso, and he started his own strength and conditioning business, and he was training people out of his garage, and I was one of the first people he trained. And we trained power, strength, conditioning, balance, all those little things, and we trained 2 3 days a week every single week all the way up until the fights opened back up on Long Island and in the city for amateur boxing. So we trained hard, bro. Every single session I put 150% into. I was waking up at 6 a.m., being at his house by 6:30, training all the way till, an hour and a half session. Then I would do online school because I was at Nassau Community College at the time while, finishing my associate's degree. And that first fight happened, I believe it was in May of 2021. That was my third amateur fight. It was just a club show. There wasn't even an audience. No one was allowed to be there because of COVID reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were wearing masks. Outside the ring, we get in the ring, we take the mask off. As soon as the fight ended, we put the mask back on. But I ended up winning that fight in 30 seconds. I knocked him out with the first left hook I landed. So that right there shows you how hard I was working at that time. Like a lot of people were like, "Yo, the pandemic. Oh, I'm sad. Oh, the gyms are closed. Oh, the restaurants closed." I was like, "Everything's
It didn't
closed.
stop you, right? It didn't stop you from
I'm
working.
I'm locking in." You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So yeah. So then that happened, and then from there, I started every single tournament that would come up in New York City. I was in there, and I would get 3, 4, 5 fights within those. So um, I went into New York State boxing tournament. I had 4 fights in 3 weeks. 2 of those fights were on a Friday and a Sunday, and I won 3 out of 4 of those fights by knockout. And then the championship fight, I ended up winning. So my first tournament, I ended up, not even losing a round. That was as a novice, though. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then I ended up right after that joining the Metros tournament, another big New York City tournament. Same thing. I had 3 fights back to back, won them all by TKO, and then I was supposed to fight in the championship fight, but then I got COVID. I ended up having COVID in the semifinals, fought with COVID, won, and then I had to pull out of that one. Then after that, I ended up fighting in a couple more just club shows. I ended up going back into the Ringmasters after I had shoulder surgery. Um, I made it all the way to the finals. I fought at Madison Square Garden at the Hulu Theater, and then I lost split decision there. Uh, and then had another fight the following week. I was just active, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like even though I've been boxing, from roughly like 2020 till now, I only really had 2 years of competition as an amateur boxer, and I had 26 fights. I had 12 fights the first year of competition, and then I had 14 fights the second year. So I stayed super active. In total, I fought in 5 New York State like tournaments, and I placed silver. I placed silver in 4 of them, and then gold in 1. So I always made it to the finals. Yeah, stayed active.
Beast. Beast mode, man. Beast mode. It's that work ethic, man. It's that work ethic. That's what I'm talking about. So now we fast forward. Decide to turn pro.
Yeah.
Nashville, Tennessee. Your first fight. How did it feel when you were walking into that ring?
I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm not trying to sound arrogant. I'm not trying to sound cocky. That's not who I am. I'm just being as honest as I can be.
Mm-hmm.
I I remember my coach Joe, Joe Kadijan. He's my main head coach. He's wrapping my hands, and he like massages my hands before he puts the wraps on. He's like, "Hey man, your palms aren't sweaty." He's like, "Are you even nervous? Are you anxious?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course I'm anxious." You know what I'm saying? But I feel like this is where I belong. Like I feel at home. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So like, of course I'm nervous. Don't get me wrong. Of course I'm scared. Like, but it felt right. You know what I'm saying? You're like, when just something just feels so right. You're like, yo, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be at this moment. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And from the moment that I walked into that ring, I also had super heavy heart because my father-in-law had passed away 2 months before that. And I have my shirt that has him on top of it. So
Right.
I went in there with a lot of pain. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Obviously it's not my father, but I felt like he was my father, and I feel what my wife feels, and being that my wife lost her father, like I carried that pain with me too. So with the training and with every punch I landed, you know what I'm saying, my pop said that heaven was shaking every time I'd land a hard punch, and that's because what I'm saying,
Mm.
I was doing it for the people that look over me.
No, absolutely, man. My condolences, and you fought like a man on a mission. And I remember we spoke before that fight, and you said, "Because I'm gonna make a statement tonight,"
Yeah.
and you certainly did, man. First round knockout, you did exactly what you needed to do, and I know that must have been one hell of a feeling, man, to knock that first one out of the way,
Hmm.
walk out of that ring as a victor,
Yep.
and then a quick turnaround, right? Which is not surprising based on what you said.
Yeah.
You did in that 2 year amateur, in that 2 year amateur run, and what less than about a month and a half later, right
Exactly a month.
exactly a month later, your
Yep.
second pro fight. This one was in the Melrose Ballroom in
Yep.
Queens, in New York. So now you're fighting at home in
Yeah.
front of your family and your friends, and you end up getting a second round knockout this time. How did that feel fighting in front of your family and friends?
That was that was the scariest thing I ever done in my life. And that's coming from, what I'm saying, being an infantry marine, being overseas, what I'm saying, like
It speaks volumes, man.
it's
Absolutely.
it's crazy. It's crazy. The pressure was insane, bro. Not only, I mean, fighting in front of your wife, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't want to lose no fight in front of your wife, you know what I'm saying? That's number one, right?
Right.
Number two, I we took a fight against a fighter that was seasoned. He had 10 professional fights as a professional boxer. um, and with that being said, he had been fighting for probably as long as I've been alive. He's a little bit older than me. So this dude had a lot of experience. He had a tight guard. We saw a film of him. We saw that he was, a smart fighter. He was a very defensive fighter. He knew how to, what I'm saying? He knew how to stay awake. He knew how to stay sharp. You know what I'm saying? You don't ever want to leave your guard down. You know what I'm saying? People look at a record and they think like, oh yeah, oh cab driver, taxi driver, oh this guy's an Uber driver. Bro, you
Can't
get in
do
the
that
ring
in
with some.
boxing.
Nah,
Can't do
bro,
that in boxing.
you fight someone that has, what I'm saying, a bad record or what you consider a bad record, but then you look at who they fight or you fight them yourselves and you're like, oh wait, so this guy has 10 fights. He may have 10 losses, but he has 10 fights. That's 10. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot more than me at the time. You know what I'm saying? I only had one professional fight. But so yeah, that was second because I'm like, oh damn, I'm fighting like an experienced fighter. Number three, hometown. So the pressure of like, of having friends and family there. My mother-in-law flew from Arizona with my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law. My Uncle Brian came from Florida with his son, my little cousin Victor. I had my pops, I had my little brother, I had my Uncle Pete and his son Louis. So
Right.
like the pressure of having the younger generation of like Latorre men there looking up to me when I grew up, you know what I'm saying? Like yeah, I grew up mostly with women, so like I didn't have like that male figure really to look up to and be like, oh, I want to be like him. I have no older brother, none of that. So like the fact that now I'm the older brother or I'm like that big cousin that
Right.
like these kids got to look up to, I'm like, yo, I really gotta put on, you know what I'm saying? I gotta carry on this legacy. So the pressure was crazy, but pressure makes diamonds, and I worked really, really, really hard before that, and the easy part is fighting. The hard part is everything before that. So all I had to do was go out there and trust that I was running 6 days a week, that I was strength and conditioning 2 days a week, that I was swimming 2 days a week, or I had 50, 60 rounds of sparring prepping me for that 4 round fight. You know what I'm saying? So I really had to
Mhm.
trust that the plan was there. Everything was already set in stone. All I had to do was perform.
You passed with flying colors, my man.
Yeah.
Like I said, you broke them down. You're now 2-0 with two knockouts. Obviously, the sky's the limit for you. Stylistically, though, because I watch you fight and you move, you're a puncher. Um, who would you say? What's that one fighter that you would say that you could compare yourself to stylistically?
um, I have multiple fighters that I really try to resemble.
Okay.
A lot of them being old school fighters. But if I had to just narrow it down to one, I'd probably say Marvin Hagler. Marvin Hagler arguably was the greatest switch hitter of all time. I mean, and he was in an era of boxing that boxing today does not even compare to. I'm not trying to downplay or disrespect any type of anyone boxing right now, but yo, them old school fighters were built different, and you got to be crazy to say that they weren't built different.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't think a lot of people are. I don't think hardcore boxing fans will argue with that. And I kind of knew you were going to say that because you do have a tendency when I seen you in your first two fights to kind of switch hit a little bit.
Yeah,
And Marvin Hagler was one of the best fighters that could actually switch from southpaw to orthodox. Very very, you couldn't even notice.
yeah.
That he was doing that. But let's not narrow it down. Give me another two. Give me your top three.
I mean, we're talking Julio Cesar Chavez. He was. Some people would say that he was a little square when he fought, but he used that to his advantage. He was very good at slipping inside and fighting on the inside. He could box on the outside too, but the way that he was able to be so defensively responsible and kind of set himself up, using the way that he would square himself to switch southpaw and then kind of set up a big punch. He was another one. Being southpaw, my favorite southpaw of all time is Pernell Whitaker. Love Sweet Pea, man. I not necessarily I try to resemble him because at the end of the day, like some people are just built to fight certain types of ways, but
Mm-hmm.
I really try to resemble the way he's slick when I'm southpaw. I like to have a little bit of a sharp jab and be able to dip and slip out of punches and counter punch. Who else? He's not really like an old school fighter, but he's a little bit of a throwback fighter. Dmitry Pirog. So Dmitry Pirog, he was a Russian fighter that came over to the United States, and he ended up retiring undefeated. He beat Danny Jacobs when Danny Jacobs was in his prime. Much respect to Danny Jacobs. That's actually one of my favorite fighters as well. Two-time world champion. Dmitry Pirog would also kind of switch hit, but he would switch it to kind of set himself up for a big right hand. But he was very slick, man. He used to use the shoulder roll. He would use the high guard. He was just very unorthodox. He was very weird and awkward, and I kind of like that awkward style. I don't really try to resemble one person. I like to pick little things and then kind of create my own style. Like I want someone to be able to, just look at a silhouette or like a blacked out frame of me fighting and then be like, oh, that's Voodoo. You know what I'm saying? Like you see Floyd
Yes.
Mayweather, you're like, oh, that's Floyd. You see Mike Tyson, oh, that's Mike. So I kind of want to have that kind of thing where I kind of want to bring back that throwback type of style, that old school style, but also most importantly, kind of be able to adapt to whoever I'm fighting. Because if you fight one way, they're gonna exploit you. So I
Right.
try to change it up. Mike McCallum, another great, the body
The
snatcher.
body snatcher. Yep.
Love Mike McCallum. Who else, man? Uh, Roberto Duran. Roberto Duran, another excellent inside fighter. The way he used to be able to slip punches, and it's crazy. Like people. So whenever I'm sparring, my coach will tell me like, do this round, do this round. He tries to tell me to do different things, and like I'm not afraid to do it because I rather get hit in sparring than get hit in a fight. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I don't want to get hit in general, but there's no other way to learn unless you're doing it. But something that's really difficult to do is to slip punches and gain ground. And it's very, very discouraging to someone else when they're trying to land a big shot and they're kind of coming towards you. So a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of like the Roberto Duran style I like as well.
Love it. I love it all, man. You are a student of the game, man. And shout out, and I want to re-shout out Danny Jacobs because I know you sparred against him one time, right? And
I
that was
did,
one hell of
yeah.
an experience.
Yeah, he came to my gym and he used my gym for his camp against John Ryder. He was sparring. He used Cordell Booker. Shout out Cordell, that's my big bro.
Mm-hmm.
He used Cordell for southpaw work, preparing for that John Ryder fight. And my coach was like, "Come to the gym when they're there." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm there." And shout out Keith Connolly. Keith Connolly, Danny Jacobs' manager,
Mm-hmm.
was there, and my coach Joe went up to him and said, "Hey man, I got this kid here. He's not too experienced. He's an amateur, but he could punch." And Keith was like, "All right, I'll think about it." So he went up to Danny and he was like, Danny's in the locker room changing, and he's like, "Hey, we got a young kid. Apparently he could punch really good, and he's a southpaw." Mind you, at that time I'm orthodox. I wasn't really switching like that.
Right.
But my coach is like, hey, guess what? You're a southpaw now.
Now you're a southpaw. You got to get that work in.
I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a southpaw. So I literally, so this was the second day that he was in camp for sparring, and Danny Jacobs is in the ring, and I hop in the ring, and Joe's like, all right, be you. I'm like, all right, bet. Apparently, um, Danny Jacobs told, shout out Andre Rozier as well. He told Andre Rozier, I'm gonna give this kid 2 rounds, and then we'll see what happens. But then after that, I ended up boxing 4 rounds with him.
My
I got
man.
out of the ring. He did 4 with Cordell. I hopped back in, and then I did the last 2. So I ended up getting 6 rounds with him the first day. And then after that, I went into the locker room because Keith was like, "Yo, Danny wants to talk to you." I'm like, all right. I go in there, and he's like, "Hey, kid." He's like, "You're pretty good. Come back." I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna be here." So then we ended up accumulating maybe around like 36 to 40 rounds total with him as a southpaw when I wasn't even a southpaw. And then through that, I was also sparring with Cordell. So I'm sparring with 2 world-class fighters
Oh
as
yeah.
as an amateur boxer with 12 fights. And at that point I started to realize like, people were telling me like that were there watching and stuff like, "Yo man, you're in there hanging with like no joke fighters." And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I am." You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Yeah,
weird, but
man. That's what's up, man. I love hearing that, man. I remember when you sent me that picture, man. That was dope. That was dope. Um, so what do you like to do when you're not boxing? What are your
school.
hobbies?
School. I mean, besides school, um, just like hang out with my wife and my dog. We are professional Netflix bingers, dude. We are homebodies, man. I don't be out, going to clubs or bars or we don't really have many hobbies. We like to go hiking here and there. We'll take a weekend trip, and we're very low key, man. We're very focused right now on school. We're trying to set ourselves up for the future. But yeah, like boxing is my hobby. You know what I'm saying? It's also my job. So yeah, but yeah, the thing that's second is going to be school. I wouldn't really like consider it a hobby, but I do love learning. And I love what I'm learning, and I love what I'm setting myself up for in the future with
Which,
the
which
occupation.
is which is
I'm going to be a mental health counselor within rehabilitation counseling, and I plan on working with veterans. Um, I think, I mean, mental health in general is something that is super important and not talked about enough, but specifically men's mental health, and within men's mental health, veteran mental health. Anywhere from 22 to 44 veterans a day commit suicide due to PTSD or any other traumatic events that's occurring either before, during, or after they get out. It's a very hard transition. So I feel as if it's a calling for me to devote myself to completing this degree, earning my licensing as far as a rehabilitation counselor, and then also a licensed mental health counselor within New York State, and then also in the country. And I plan on working for the Veterans Affairs so I could work with veterans, and then eventually starting a nonprofit organization specifically to help veterans. And I kind of want to, God willing, be able to incorporate boxing within that as well, because boxing is a huge part of what helps me, being a veteran and with my mental health. So uh, I feel as if I have enough, enough focus and whatnot to make it happen and be able to be there for other veterans that necessarily aren't in that position.
That's amazing, man. Absolutely amazing. It's admirable. I love it. Just like
Thank you.
you, I take mental health very, very seriously, and I know you. When you put your mind to do something, as you've done right now, I know that you're going to make it happen. So nothing but the best of luck for you there, cuz
Thank you.
I'm always in your corner. Um, so tell me, what's your plans for your next fight? When do you plan on getting back in the ring?
So we have talks of possible opportunities to be fighting in mid-October, uh, also early November, And for sure on December 3rd, I believe it is, at the Melrose Ballroom again with Primetime Promotions. Um, we have a lot of opportunities. Right now, I have a little bit of an issue with my hand from my last fight. I have a little bit of a swollen knuckle with a little bit of fluid built up in it. So, I was a little frustrated at first that I had to slow down, but, I look at it as, God was telling me that, hey, listen, man, you had two camps back to back. You had two fights in 2 months. Take a month to rest. You know what I'm saying? Go back to the drawing board, figure out what you did wrong, what you could do better in these last two fights, and come back better. So,
Yes, yes,
that's the
yes.
plan, man.
Rome wasn't built in one day. Take your
Yes.
time. You
Yeah.
can't mess up those money makers, baby.
Yeah.
Like you
But
told me, those are your money
I
makers.
the I crave it though. I crave
I
fighting,
know.
bro. I want to fight so bad, but that's a little bit of like my chismo kind of talking. Like I want to I want to stay consistent because I don't want people to look at me and be like, oh, yo, he's lazy. He's taking time off. I'm like, nah, yo, I want to show people like, nah, I'm here. I want to get this many fights in this amount of time. I kind of set my mind to certain goals, and then if I don't fulfill that, I'm like knocking myself. You know what I'm saying? But I got to also take it slow.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Listen, with that drive, determination, and that willpower, there's no doubt in my mind, man. If you keep your head screwed on right, which I know you're gonna do, you're gonna be a champion one day. Cause
God willing.
but you just got to take it easy, take care of your body,
Yeah.
and your mind, obviously, right? Because a
Facts.
mentally healthy fighter is a even dangerous fighter, also. But this was awesome, man. This was awesome spending time with you. But let why don't you let my viewers and your fans and your followers know where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, so on Instagram you can follow me at Voodoo Pete, no space in between that, just VOODOOPETE. Shoot me a follow. I follow everyone back. If I appreciate all support. My support system is just unbelievable, man. I have so many people that love me and support my journey, and I'm so blessed, man. I'm just so unbelievably blessed to have so many people in my corner. I obviously I'm the one that's getting down and dirty and doing the work, but having not only friends and family, but like military members that don't even know me, messaging me on social media and telling me like, hey man, just want to let you know that like I want to get into boxing, or you motivate me to be better. Like that's what keeps me going. So the supporters, the fans, you guys are what drives me. So yeah, shoot me a follow. I'll follow back. If you need any advice, if you want to just have a conversation, if you're feeling down, I'll always respond. Just hit me up. And yeah, because I appreciate you.
Well,
You're
listen, man.
giving me this platform.
Listen, man. Like I said, man, this was an absolute honor. You know I love you. And for my viewers, if you're new to watching my videos, don't know what you're waiting for. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and smash that like button. This is how we do it up here at the Hangout Spot. Cause what can I say, man? I just want to tell you that not only am I proud of you and I love you, but thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey because you actually wear my logo on your trunks, or you've wore my logo on your trunks in your last two fights, and I can't tell you how much that means to me because, like I said, when you're in there, I kind of feel like I'm in there with you, and it's nothing about the logo. It's about just sharing something with someone that I love, a family member, and I know that you're giving it your all, and I'm proud of you, and I can't wait to continue to see you progress, man, and see your journey and have you back here when you win a title, because that's
Absolutely.
that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have
Oh
you back
yeah.
here when you win a title.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna have it right here on my shoulder.
That's what I'm talking about, man. But anyhow, man, for all my viewers, I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. As always, this is your boy Johnny signing out from the Hangout Spot with my little cousin, welterweight prospect Peter Voodoo Latorre, and I will talk to everybody soon.